for subscribing to the Steven Sulley Study. This is another episode I'm putting out there. The podcast, if it's your first time listening, is basically my take on success, and I honestly believe the interpretation of success isn't just about money and financial gain or business or investing, even though I believe that's very, very important. I think it's very wise for anyone to become successful in many other areas. So wellness for me is a super big part of becoming a success. Training in a certain way, becoming strong, fit and healthy, eating the right stuff with your nutrition and understanding what certain foods do. And all these things are going to give you a good foundation to your mindset. With that in mind, I've been a part of sales companies, built up sales companies, started sales companies. They've gone very well, and then sometimes they've not done so well, and I've made a lot of mistakes, and I've made a lot of success during my time in sales. I'm currently still in sales at the moment, but I honestly do believe that at the heart of every big company, blue chip company, Fortune 500 company, is a phenomenal sales process, team, staff, and I think that even if you've got the best products in the world, you're not going to be able to do anything with it unless you know how to sell. So I think that even if you're an individual just starting out, and even if you're coming out of school or even still in school, I think one of the best skills that you can learn is to become an effective communicator, persuader, a closer, a salesperson. So I've got 10 tips that I believe that you need to have, whether you're doing face-to-face selling, whether it's over the telephone, any kind of sales. I believe this is definitely something you can implement, okay? Just before I go on, the reason why I believe you should become effective at selling, even if you're not going to use it to make money or for some sort of financial gain or business or investing, you have to understand everything in life is really a sell if you break it down. Even if you're starting a family for the first time, the way you're going to condition your children in the best way possible, the way you want them to be, live the right lifestyle, have absolute clean manners, have a positive outlook, becoming a winner in everything they do. It's about effective communication and persuading them and getting them to see life in a certain way. And I do believe that comes down to closing as well. So you can implement this even if you're just trying to do it from a parent's point of view. So number one, attitude. Number one, you have to have a great attitude. There's no point in getting into sales unless you've got 100% commitment on your attitude. I think the things that influence your attitude is knowing what the hell you want to achieve in your life. I believe the reason why a lot of people wake up very, very early in the morning and hit the day running and absolutely smash any kind of figures out the park or their standards or hit new heights every single day is because they've got great attitude. They're willing to learn. They're very teachable, so they will go on courses, they'll read books, they'll listen to mentors. They're not so arrogant where they think they know everything. They're just basically a bit of a sponge, and they're willing to adapt and learn and change course slightly if they need to. Their attitude is on point. And I've read a few books before in sales, and they say 50% of a sale, so if you were to break it down in a pie chart form, 50% of that sale is down to your attitude towards it. So do you want to make that sale? Do you want to help that person? Are you positive even in times of adversity, even when the person says maybe no to you or they don't really understand it? Can you remain professional and upbeat, and can you still move forward and close that sale? So number one, you need to have your attitude on point, okay? The number two, second point, is tonality. So if you have a sheet, please write down number one, attitude, number two, tonality. Now, also in very, very similar books, if not the same, they say that 25% of a sale in a pie chart is down to your tonality. So you've got 50% of it is down to your attitude, 25% of it is down to your tonality. So even if you get the 50% right, then the other 25% right, which is your tone, you're 3/4 of the way there. So you're going to make money regardless, or you're going to influence the people in the right way. You're pretty much there. So using your tonality in the most effective way, raising it, bringing it down, making it quiet, heightening it, where you can, where it's needed, maybe to emphasize a certain point, how serious something is or how scarce something is, scarce. It's so important that you fluctuate your tone on a regular basis, because it makes your call or even your sales process very, very interesting. So making sure that you use your tonality right is absolutely key. Number 3, a very, very simple one. Number 3 is tie downs. Making sure that you use your tie downs really, really effectively. What that means, a tie down, is forcing a yes. And the reason why you want to pin someone down on a yes is because if you leave it open-ended, I believe that most people are conditioned or programmed to be a little bit negative sometimes, or be a little bit apprehensive about a sales call, which is understandable. Okay, it's good that people have their guard up, but understanding if you leave it too open, they're probably going to end up saying no. So what Brian Tracy says, who is known for being an effective communicator and has a lot of sales courses, and he's a multi-millionaire from America, he said by getting to people to agree to your statements, forcing a yes, it means that their subconscious mind is agreeing to you, and therefore they're much more likely to say yes later on. It's about conditioning them and get them to say yes on loads of little points, or allow them to say yes on a bigger point later on, okay? It doesn't guarantee a sale, but it gives you an extra factor, an extra edge over your competition. A lot of people won't get people just to say yes and tie them down. They will go in there and they will get a lot of no's, and every time that a no is said by a client or a prospect, you have to imagine it's like almost throwing water over a fire. It's going to put it out at some point. You want to keep that fire alive. You want to keep it blazing. And the way you do that is by feeding it, by getting yeses out of that call. I think it's very, very important to tie people down. So, for example, you may make a statement, and then you would finish it off by saying something along the lines of, that makes sense, doesn't it? Yes, and get them to say yes. Number 4, a very, very basic one, alternate closes, which is, if you're a salesperson, this is going to sound like very, very basic stuff, but you'd be very, very surprised. Even after nearly 13, 14 years in sales, I still come across very experienced salespeople, and they don't close. They literally leave everything very, very open. I've always been taught to give someone a choice. So it's either red or blue. It's either sending information to your home address or your business address. Is the product going to go into your name or into a loved one's name? Something along those lines. The reason being is because if you give them 2 choices, they're probably going to go for one or the other. If you give them more than 2 choices, it makes it complicated. And if you don't give them any choice whatsoever and you leave it open down to them, they're probably not going to move forward. Bearing in mind, the reason why learning sales is very, very good as well, a lot of people procrastinate in life. They hesitate, and they keep on saying, I'm going to do this, I'm going to do that. And unfortunately, most people, not leaders, they just tend to stay in exactly the same place they were a year, 2 years, 5 years ago. So becoming an effective salesperson, closer, a communicator, you're serving people because you're helping them make a decision. I'll give you an example. Look at so many people right now in a health space where friends, family, anyone that you know, there's a lot of people over there that are probably not in a shape, probably not feeling the way they want to be physically. And that's probably down to 2 things. It's probably what they're eating, and also the lack of training, if they're doing any training whatsoever. And if they had someone who's quite an effective communicator to close them on the idea of just going to the gym maybe 3 times a week, or even a light jog, a run somewhere, just getting outside and doing a long walk, and eating just a little bit clean Monday to Friday, or maybe 7 days a week, if they had someone effectively closing them on the idea, they would probably make that decision. And unfortunately, they may not have those people around them. Now, I'm not saying that's excusable, because they should take charge of their own life. But I'm just saying, by becoming an effective communicator, you're helping people to make a decision. They're going to stop procrastinating, and that's going to be thanks down to you. Number 5, I believe you need to establish control on that call, and the way you do that is by grabbing a pen and piece of paper. So if it's over the telephone, pen and piece of paper. But I also do believe if you're in an office, if you're in some kind of room, giving the person, the prospect or a client, a pen and piece of paper to take down notes is absolutely key. I'll tell you why. if you're basing your presentation just on your sheer enthusiasm and excitement and energy, you may get the sale, but later on the people are going to get cold feet. They're going to renege on the deal. And the reason being is because they're probably basing their decision on that excitement, but that excitement is worn off. So if you're getting them to write down some logical stuff about the product, how it's going to serve them, how it's going to be beneficial to them, how it's going to put them in a better position, let's say a year, 2 years, 5 years down the line, or the service or the product or whatever it may be, they can reflect on some of the stuff they've written down, and it's going to help them stay in the deal. I believe if you're just trying to sell them in a way of just throwing loads of information at them and then expecting them to retain all that information that you've just given them, it's going to be very, very difficult. I go on many courses. I'm part of Progressive Properties VIP mentorship, and I have to go there once a month, and I have to see a mentor. I always take a pen and piece of paper. I'm not saying that every little thing I'm writing down, but I get golden nuggets here and there, and if I'm relying just on my memory, I'm just going to forget most of it. So I walk around with a pad, with a pen and piece of paper, and I'm taking down some notes. So if it works for yourself when you go to a course, or you're going to a seminar, or you're just going to see an accountant about some tax advice or something, you're going to take a pen and piece of paper. It's just ridiculous not to get people to write down some facts and figures and the real information that they need. Right, next one, number 6. Being straight to the point. A lot of entrepreneurs are very, very time sensitive. The reason why they're very successful, because they're very good at utilising their time. It's as simple as that. If you're going around the houses and giving people fluff, they're going to see right through that and they're going to get annoyed. You need to make sure that you're giving people the facts, the figures, you're giving them every bit of detail, but you're doing it in a very, very concise way. If you're literally given too much information, you're going to make it sound very, very complicated, very complex. Therefore, they're going to procrastinate on making a decision. Therefore, it's just going to take forever and a day to get a real commitment from these people, and you're probably not going to make any money or any kind of sales. So you need to be straight to the point, and you need to be quite direct. If you look at very, very successful leaders, world leaders, governments, politicians, entrepreneurs, CEOs of a company, founders of a company, a lot of these people are quite direct and quite straight talking. One of the people that stands out for me is Lord Alan Sugar. Sometimes you might mistake his directness for a bit of rudeness or a little bit of, bluntness. But for me, he's tenacious, he's straight to the point, and you know exactly where you stand with them. And I feel that is the best way to be. Being direct, being very professional, being very polite, but letting know where you stand with that person and how the product is, how your service is. Therefore, there's no hidden agenda. And I think that's the most important thing when it comes down to selling, because you need to be transparent. Number 7, pace of your conversation. If you look at going back to world leaders, some of the most successful people out there have very, very methodical, conversational pace about them. Jose Mourinho is one of those people that sort of springs to mind. He's very, very arrogant in a very, very professional way. Sometimes he doesn't even look at the camera when he's being interviewed. But the pace that he has, I mean, even with that pace and the tonality he has, he says many different kind of words, and he sends off many, many different signals without actually saying the words in the first place, because he uses the pace effectively and also his tone. So I think slowing down your pace will show that you're in control. It will show that you're very, very professional, because on the flip side, if you're too rushing and too overwhelming, you're going to sound and feel like an amateur, and people will never participate, sign up to some kind of deal or some kind of service with an amateur. They just won't feel like you're the most effective person to be speaking to. Number 8, you need to listen as much as you're speaking. I know this is going to sound cliche, but you've got 2 ears, 1 mouth, so you need to use it to that ratio. I see a lot of salespeople have a bit of verbal diarrhea. They're just offloading so much information regularly, and they don't take the time to listen. And most of the books I've read on sales and the art of selling and the art of persuasion and things like that, they say most of the keys to selling people is when you just listen to someone. They're going to give you a couple little nuggets here and there, and they're going to be the most important things, the most valuable things to these people, and you'll be able to design your sales presentation or your product around these people to suit their wants and needs. Number 9, pitching emotionally but backing it up with logic. If you just sell emotionally, you're going to get a lot of deals, but every single one of them, or most of them, will fall out. And even the ones that do stick in, they're going to become problem clients later on, because they're going to wind themselves up about they've been sold, there's no logic behind what they've bought, and they're going to get infuriated, and they're going to cause you the most drama, the most stress, and the most problems. Later on, you're going to be on the phone call with them on the phone with them most of the time. If you sell too logically, the problem with that is you're going to overcomplicate things. You're going to attract all the analytical people, and they're just going to break down every little thing about your product and service. And at the end of the day, if someone wants to find any kind of problem with any kind of thing, they can find one if they look hard enough. So you need to make sure that you're doing enough emotional selling to appeal to their desire for gain. You need to get them excited. You need to get them emotionally involved with the call, how it's going to benefit them and their family, and put them in a state of mind in the future. So 5 years from now, think about how the service and product is going to help you and your family, and how it's going to put you in a better situation. But then also back it up with logic. Tell them the facts about the product. You know, the product might have been around for 5 years. Tell them about that. Tell them about the board of directors. Tell them about how strong the company's been, even in times of recessions, depressions, and global downturns. Let them know that the product is very, very stand-up because of X, Y, Z. You need to sell them both logically and emotionally, and you need to see this as a double-edged sword. If you don't get them on the emotional factor, you're definitely going to get them on logical, or vice versa. So learning how to pitch emotionally and as well as logically is absolutely key, whether you're doing face-to-face or whether you're doing over the telephone. The last one, the 3 E's. Someone told me this many years ago. Very, very basic information, but it's so important, and it ties in with number 1 again. You need to have energy, you need to have excitement, and you need to have enthusiasm. You need to have enthusiasm and excitement and energy for your day. You need to have energy, excitement for your life. You need to have energy, excitement, and enthusiasm for your peers, because how your state is will affect other people. So if you're negative, and if you're coming into that room or into that environment and you're down, depressing, and you just look like you've got a slapped ass on your face, then you're going to bring everybody else down. When you're upbeat, when you're excited, and when you've got so much energy and you ooze this confidence, it rubs off on everybody else, and then you just attract bigger, better deals, more consistency. I just think your whole entire life becomes a lot more exciting because you have the three E's intact. And also, if you've really got goals that you're committed on, and you've got your vision boards, and you're doing affirmations and incantations, and you're around very, very positive people that are pushing themselves all the time, you're always going to have the 3 E's attached to your life, to your life, and to most things that you do, because you know exactly what the bigger picture is. People that lack the things usually are people that are very, very depressed about their job and their current situation. They're not happy with maybe some of their partnerships that they've got. They're not maybe heading in the right direction, and that's probably because they haven't decided what they want. So when you decide what you want, you're going to have a lot of energy, you're going to have a lot of excitement, you're going to have a lot of enthusiasm, your attitude is going to be completely on point. So that means you're 50% of the way there. And if you really think about it, the reason why so many people have great tonality usually is because they've got a great attitude. Your tonality is going to be heightened organically just because you've got a great attitude. So making sure that you're very aware and you're diligent about the fact that you need energy, excitement, and enthusiasm to your day, to your life, and most importantly to sales. So that's my 10 tips. I hope it serves you. Hope it makes complete sense, and hope you can implement even just some of these, if not all of them. For me, it's basic stuff, but the basic stuff's always win you and get you the success. It's like boxing. I've boxed. I've had 14 fights. Never been professional. I've sparred professional people. Been doing boxing most of my life. You know, the main thing that dictates a fight and wins you a fight is your jab. Now, of course, a big knockout punch is always the thing that most people are looking for, because that's where the glory is. That's what you're known for. You know, that's where you know, the feel-good factor or the dolphins will come from. But really and truly, the thing that dictates the fight and dictates what you're doing is your jab. And the thing that's going to dictate you through these sales is the very basic things, like the tie downs, like the alternate closes, like taking control with a pen and piece of paper, being straight to the point, your pace, listening to people, pitching emotionally, logically, having a 3 E's intact, and making sure your tonality and your attitude is completely there. Have a good day. Be happy, but never content. My name is Steve Sulley. This is Steve Sulley Study. Have a good day.